What in the Joe Mixon got into the Bengals today? What a difference 6,000 fans make. We break down the big day at the Jungle. Plus,
when you're the guys on the field and have done everything you can and competed and done all that work, nothing else can make you feel that bad on a baseball field.
the Braves did not respect Cincinnati, and the Reds are done. What happens next? We ask Mark Sheldon. And the playoffs get started this week for high school football in Ohio. My guy Caleb Noah and I will preview some of the matchups.
From WCPO 9 Sports, this is Sports of All Sorts.
What up? Welcome to Sports of All Sorts. I'm Reggie Wilson. Remember all the good vibes from last week after the Reds clinched the playoff spot? Oh, how quickly things changed. The Reds are already out of it, and we're already saying maybe next year. And that's where we start off tonight. The season is over, and it really wasn't pretty. The Reds went 22 innings without scoring, and Tucker Barnhart called the experience a stepping stone. But to be the first team ever held scoreless through an entire postseason series, that's a step they probably wish they skipped.
You battle, you work year-round, you put everything you have into it, and you lose. There's no good way to feel about that.
Sad news for Kentucky Speedway. The Speedway will not be a part of NASCAR's Cup Series next year. This past summer was the 10th year of NASCAR races in Sparta, and you may remember it was a wild finish. Another match, another shutout loss for FC Cincinnati. The Orange and Blue fall to their first Western Conference opponent, Minnesota United FC, 2-0 Saturday. FCC has only scored 2 goals since leaving the bubble in Orlando. The club will try again on Wednesday on the road at Philadelphia. The Bearcats opened up conference play with a dominant 28-7 win over South Florida Saturday. Desmond Ridder threw a career-high 3 interceptions, but the running game and defense had his back. Jared Dokes ran for 102 yards and a touchdown. And how about 5 interceptions for Marcus Freeman's unit? As the Bearcats improved to 3-0 on the season, it's their 15th straight win at home, the 6th longest active streak among FBS schools. And the Bearcats move up to number 11 in the latest AP poll, their highest spot since 2009. But it's time to hit the road. UC back in action at Tulsa on October 17th. Bengals hosting the Jaguars today, who beat the Orange and Black by 10 last season. Jags up 4 in the first. Joe Burrow throws a touchdown to Drew Sample, right? No, Miles Jack takes his cookies. Bengals come away empty. Just before halftime, though, Burrow leads a beautiful drive, finds Mixon out of the backfield, and if Chris Berman were calling this play, he'd say, whoop! Mixon hurdles into the end zone for his first touchdown of the season, game tied. Let's go to the second half. Mixon says he had trouble breathing, so he went to the hospital for 3 hours yesterday and was unsure if he'd play today. But the doctors loved up on him, and he did that. 34-yard touchdown gives the Bengals a 17-13 lead. He's not done. A few minutes later, peace. High-stepping it for his 3rd touchdown of the day. Bengals are 4-0 when he scores multiple TDs in a game. 151 on the ground today, first 100-yard game this season. Joe Burrow becomes the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to have 3 consecutive 300-yard games. Randy Bullock and his calf goes 4 for 4 and becomes the most accurate field goal kicker in Bengals history. Go figure. The Bengals hold on to win their first of the 2020 season. 33-25 is the final.
That's how you want it to look. You know, you want to be able to play with the lead, empty your playbook in that regard, and be really balanced with first and second down. And again, our guys allowed us to do that. They put us in that position.
I think everybody doing a great job. We had a great play calling today, and how we did today on offense, that's the standard, and that's what it should be every week.
We feel a lot of momentum right now. We're excited about where we are. You know, obviously there's some things to correct, but we had a great week of practice this week, and I think that's why we won the game.
Feels good to talk about a victory Sunday in Cincinnati, and we do so with former Bengals cornerback Rodney Heath. Rodney, how's your victory Sunday?
Oh, man, it was great, man, just those guys to get the victory. I'll tell you, man, it's a long time coming, you know, losing. Well, having that tie last week was just like kind of, you know, you don't win, you didn't lose, but it's not a win. And just to be able to get that first win, that's great.
And so what do you feel like the fans helped? There was 6,000 fans there today. Do you feel like they helped energize them and kind of help them win today?
I think that helped. I mean, being at the first game when it wasn't anybody there, it was weird, to just be in the stadium where there's no fans, but you still got to go to work. You still got to go and play. And I think that was one of the things where just having a crowd there, being able to cheer you on. I mean, it's not the crowd that you're used to, but, you got some people there. And I thought that, that was great. They got on the road, started doing some things on the offensive side. And, Burrow was throwing well and playing well, and Joe Mixon got running, and all of that came together. And in the end, they were able to hold on to the win.
And you mentioned Joe Mixon. He was questionable coming into the game with a chest injury, but he shined brightest. What did you like about his performance today?
Well, I mean, he was aggressive. I mean, they used him in every phase. I mean, in the passing game as well, or just for him to get going north and south and just making it happen. He just showed how versatile he is. That was the guy that we drafted coming in. You wanted that guy who can get upfield, make some things happen. For guys to miss tackles or trying to tackle him, not one guy's going to get him down. And that's showing that's a leader right there that they need. And that also helps the offensive line because he put up 150, and they don't have to sit back here and let, Joe Burrow get hit all the time and get 8 sacks.
Yeah, you mentioned that O-line. Burrow was only sacked once today and pretty much kept a clean pocket for his third career 300-yard passing game. How are you liking his game so far through 4 weeks? I feel like he looks like the real deal, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And he actually comes in with that confidence like, he's not a rookie. The guys been speaking about how they like his leader, how he's a leader, how he comes in with that confidence, the quiet confidence, but also he goes out there and he's not rattled. And it's not like a rookie. I mean, I understand we're four weeks in, but, he comes in with that type of confidence in how he plays and how he goes out there and he gets hit and he gets up and he's like, all right, I'm ready to come back and do it again. And he's throwing the ball all over the place. He's starting to connect with Higgins, and they're doing a lot of things that are showing promise on that offensive side with Joe Burrow.
All right, Rodney, got to ask you this. They go to Baltimore next week. How are you liking their chances?
Well, I mean, they put up 500 yards today, right? And I get it. Some people are going to say, well, it's just Jacksonville or whatever, but it's an NFL team. And at the end of the day, any confidence that they can get moving forward and going into Baltimore, now they get to test themselves to see where they are and just really go out there really without – I wouldn't even be worried about, the wins or losses. You just want to see what you can do against a team like that, and just really just go out there and let your hair down, just go play.
Trying to build that good momentum. Rodney,
yeah.
I appreciate you as always. Take care, and let's do it next week, all right?
You got it, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right.
So I want to hear from you. After today's exhilarating win, do you think the momentum carries them to back-to-back wins next week in Baltimore? Tweet me at Reggie Wilson TV and make sure to use the hashtag SOAS. The Reds went out sad and in turn made a lot of fans here in the tri-state sad as well. Coming up, what the Reds need to do in the offseason to make it back to the playoffs and get some runs on the scoreboard.
It's a great program to be a part of, and I'm very blessed to be a part of it.
Wyoming, one of several Ohio high school teams ending the regular season undefeated. Still ahead, we break down what to look forward to in the playoffs.
I thought our guys were so good, and Luis was excellent again, and we just didn't do enough on our side. Not enough offense. It's not good enough.
Just a tough way to go out for the Reds, but very on par for 2020. Mark Sheldon just wrapped up another season covering the team for MLB.com. Mark, how are you?
Doing okay. It's weird to be in off-season mode just like that.
I know, it just happened so fast. So, Mark, how disappointing was this playoff exit for the Reds after building that momentum the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's disappointing. You can't say that you're surprised they lost just because they were the 7th seed facing a very good 2 seed, but it's the way they lost. It's the fact that they went 22 scoreless innings and they didn't score, but at the same time, they held Atlanta to only 2 runs for the first 21 innings of the series. So that's a good thing. Their pitching did show up, and they should be happy about that. But it's disappointing. They had all those chances. They were about 1 for 12 in runners in scoring position in the first game, and I think 0 for 4 in the second game. And like Joey Votto had said in the thing, it's just not good enough. They didn't support their pitching, and it's kind of a microcosm of what things were like in the regular season before the 2-week hot stretch. They were last in hitting, and they relied way too much maybe on the home run ball to provide their offense. They need to diversify a little bit.
And to your point, the Reds, as constructed, they just struggle to score runs consistently. So spinning it forward, where does the team go from here, and what improvements can and need to be made?
Well, that's a hard question because they only played 60 games. You wouldn't make a whole lot of rash decisions, and Dick Williams mentioned this the other day. You don't make a whole lot of rash decisions based on what you've seen in April and May and then change the team around in June, because you don't know. I mean, these guys were finally starting to kind of reach the water level that they've had in their track record. Guys like Shogo Akiyama and Mike Moustakas started coming around, and Joey Votto started coming around. So there's not a ton they can do. And the other issue is they're really set at those everyday 8 positions or 9 positions. They don't need anyone else for their lineup. Nick Castellanos comes back. He's the right fielder. They have Akiyama. They have Goodwin. They have Senzel. They have Winker. And, maybe the one thing they might see behind the plate is Tyler Stevenson, who they were very impressed with. He's going to have a chance to compete for the everyday catching role, and he'll bring some extra offense. And Jose Garcia will be another year older and more experienced, and I think they'll be looking for him to continue to grow as a hitter. So there's not a whole lot of room for making additions, but you never know. They might make some trades that benefit them, and we'll see what they do. They do have some depth.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get to Trevor Bauer, possible Cy Young winner this season. He's a fan favorite in Cincinnati, but he was tweeting at the Red Sox not too long ago. Do you think the Reds bring him back?
I think if there's ever a year or an off season that can bring him back, it is this one. You got to wonder the economic damage to the game was by the pandemic and not having a full season with fans in the seats. So I would imagine a lot of teams may or may not be bidders that maybe normally would. He also has the other issue where he only wants to sign 1-year contracts, or at least that's what he's been saying for a while. So the Reds, if they can come up with a good 1-year contract that he likes and he feels like they can win again, that definitely bodes well for the Reds. He didn't rule it out when he was asked about it before Game 1. He would be interested in coming, I think. He knows this is a team that can win, and that's one of the attractions for him when he does sign these 1-year contracts. So I think it's possible, but there's obviously a lot of big market teams that can give him the north of the $30 million plus that he might want for a 1-year deal, or could surprise him with a giant 9-figure deal over multi-year. So it's going to be tough to re-sign him, but I think it is more possible this year than maybe other years.
All right, Mark. Well, as always, I appreciate your insight. Let's try to catch up when the hot stove gets heated up a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds great. Enjoy football season and everything else.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. All right, if you've been at an Oak Hills football game this fall, you may have noticed a female on the varsity roster. But coming up, while that's far from the only unique thing about Kaylie Hebert. Welcome back. Oak Hills High School sophomore Kaylie Hebert is playing soccer and football this fall for the Highlanders. High school sports insider Mike Dyer shows us how this star athlete also excels in the classroom.
Kaylie Hebert gets a kick out of competing.
I get to do what I love and hang out with the people I love.
The Oak Hills sophomore participates in football, soccer, softball, and basketball during the school year.
And quite frankly, that's just impossible to find these days.
Yet it seems anything is possible for Hebert. In the fall, she is a kicker on the varsity football team. She also plays on the junior varsity girls soccer team. 1, 2,
3. Very quickly, I realized that Kaylie, this is important to her. Soccer's important, but being a good kicker, that's right up there with everything else that she does.
If football and soccer aren't enough, she also plays club softball on the weekends during the fall.
It's just important to me because I feel like if I just played one sport, I would get super stressed about it. And being able to play multiple sports, you can have a mind break from one sport and go to the next and just be like, okay, this is great. And you can just stop worrying about one sport for a little bit.
Hebert's mind is also focused on advanced placement and honors classes.
if I have bad grades, I can't play. So it just helps me keep my grades up because I know that I probably wouldn't put in as much effort if I didn't have anything to put it towards.
The weekly workload isn't easy. The football and soccer teams often practice on the same day. But Abair is proud to represent Oak Hills.
I love it here. All the boys are so nice to me. All the soccer girls, we all are such a good group. All of my sports, we all just kind of come together.
The point after touchdown is good with 1 minute.
Mike Dyer, WCPO 9 Sports.
Thanks so much for that, Mike. Staying on the gridiron, in only his second year as head coach, Tom Bolden leads Lakota West to a GMC title with a 21-0 shutout victory over Mason. And the Firebirds enter the playoffs as a unanimous #1 seed in Division I, Region 4. As West gets set to play West Claremont on Friday, Coach Bolden is proud of his squad.
You're flying around and we're getting after it, and it may not be pretty at times, maybe penalties and all that other kind of stuff, but it's a physical brand of football that these kids bought into, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Every Ohio team will make the playoffs for the first time in decades, and joining me now to talk about some of the matchups is our guy, Caleb No, pulling in double duty, covering the Bengals and talking some high school with me. Caleb, what's up? Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, man, yeah, I mean, if you would have told me 6 months ago that I would be covering an NFL football game and then talking to you about high school football, might not have believed you, but I would have been super excited about it. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's get into it, Caleb. All right, so crazy to think how uncertain the season looked at times, as you mentioned, that we made it through 6 weeks. How excited are you that we even have playoff football?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned a second ago, it's like if you would have said several months ago to me that we were going to have it wasn't a full season, but it was full, by the standards of what we knew this season was going to be when we came into it. But it's been good. I mean, it's been fun to see these schools really change the way they do things in a way to make it work in 2020, to make football work in 2020. Yes, some schools have missed some games and we've had some postponed games and things like that. But all in all, schools have made this season work. And so really hats off to all the schools in the area for making it work this year.
Absolutely. So it's been a unique experience this year. The first high school football playoffs you'll cover in Ohio. What matchups are you most looking forward to?
Well, you mentioned just a minute ago that every school in the state is eligible for the playoffs, which gives some teams an opportunity that they might not normally have, based on the season they've had so far. But I think what it creates in the first round is inevitably you get some lopsided matchups, but then you do get some really good matchups, especially like let's say in a 16 team region, you get that 8-9 matchup, which are probably two teams that are pretty evenly matched. Like in Division I, Region 4, that 8-9 matchup could be a really good one. It's Sycamore and Lakota East, and they played earlier this season to a 3-point game. So we're going to get that matchup again. And then you get Hamilton and Moeller. Moeller played Lakota East to a 2-point game, had them up by 1 on them this past week, and Lakota East won on a last-second field goal there. Moeller and Hamilton's been one of the hottest teams the last few weeks. They lost by 1 this past week. They gambled on a 2-point conversion late, lost that game by 1. Hamilton-Moeller looks like a fun matchup. That's the 6-10 matchup there in Division I, Region 4.
All right, we talked about Lakota West, but look, you and I, we went together to do the 100 yards with Brogan Mackay. He put up 556 yards passing on Saturday, 5 touchdowns, breaking all kinds of school records. We talked a little earlier about Wyoming as well. Which teams are you looking forward to seeing in the playoffs?
Well, I think you said it right there. St. X looks like a fun team to watch. I mean, they are one of the best teams in the state, if not the best team in the state. Wyoming has won 47 straight regular season games. I mean, they just simply do not lose at home. Clinton Massey completed an undefeated regular season. How about Winton Woods, man? They put together a really nice season to finish atop the standings in their conference there. But, I mean, you talked about St. X. I think St. X is a team that feels like they got something to prove. If nothing else locally here, because all the polls or the seedings for the postseason were voted on at the end of the season, and St. X is the number 3 team in that region heading into the playoffs. I think they maybe felt like, they should have been the number 1 team. Now Lakota West has had a great season, and I'm sure they feel like they deserve that number 1 spot. It's hard to see, but it's hard to decide based on voting, but things are going to play themselves out. That's going to be a really, really fun region to watch.
Absolutely. All right, well, your first victory Sunday of the season. We'll look forward to catching some more victories on Friday nights during high school football playoffs. Thanks so much, Kaylie, for taking the time.
Thank you, Reggie.
All right, we'll be right back to wrap up the show. Welcome back. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun, but we got to go. I'd like to thank my guests, Rodney Heath, Mark Sheldon, and my guy, Caleb No, for joining me tonight. And thank you to my village who helped me put this all together. Thank you for watching. Let's do it again next Sunday. Until then, have a good night and a very blessed week.